Hello everyone. Are you guys able to see us? If yes, please put something in the chat. Okay, perfect. So yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to the 12th meetup by MOTKL chapter. So I am your host for today. Myself Nitin. I'm QA lead from FAVE. So today's agenda will be we will be having an introduction on what's Ministry of Testing about, and then we will have a wonderful speaker who will be sharing about APIs 101 with Postman, and after that we will be having a Q&A session, and then we wrap it up. So about Ministry of Testing, it's the world's number one software testing community, which is started by Rossi Sherry, and they host conferences and they do have chapters across the globe. And we are representing Kuala Lumpur chapter for all the testers in Kuala Lumpur. So if you go to the Ministry of website, you can see these many options. So there is a learn on the dojo option, and then you can connect with the community via their Slack channel. And also you can attend their events. Everything is hosted online now. So please do visit the website and check out the latest events. And also you can contribute to the Ministry of Testing community by writing, speaking, teaching, and writing reviews and all. So before we start, I just want to go through our community principles. Be human, be kind, be respectful, be supportive and inclusive, be open-minded. So today's talk, we are so grateful to have Priscilla Bilavendran with us. And she is a Postman supernova and one of the persons which I know very personally. She got exceptional talent in breaking down complex things and making it simpler for us. So we are looking forward to hear from you about APIs 101 with Postman Priscilla. Welcome and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nitin. Thank you for that introduction. That's so kind of you. Hello, guys. I'm excited, same as you. So I'll start sharing the screen. So can you guys see that?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it's one of the most interesting and hot topic right now. So APIs and that too with Postman. So how are we going to learn APIs and how is it like related with Postman and what is this tool all about? So this is me. I'm Priscilla, and I work as a senior QA engineer with Millennium IT Services Malaysia. And I have around 10 years of experience in quality assurance. I have experienced almost different flavors of testing, I would say. I started with as a functional tester, then I got an opportunity to explore something in EDI testing, ETL testing, and in Selenium front end automation. And right now I'm doing like API and parallelly front end automation using Selenium. So these are my social handles, and after the session, if you have any doubts regarding APIs and Postman, just feel free to reach out to me. And okay, so this is the agenda for today. We'll be discussing first about the basics of APIs, which is mean like I'll be trying to explain where an API comes in a picture in your day-to-day life, why people are talking so much about it, why it is getting too much importance in the recent few years, and why it is bringing so much business impact. And then we will learn like, okay, we know about APIs. So what is this Postman tool is all about? Like, where does that come in a picture, and how are we going to start learning that tool? And I'll be giving a short demo because Postman has such a complete ecosystem. So I'll be just walking you through the basics, building blocks of Postman, which will be really helpful to you, like when you are planning to kickstart your learning with APIs in Postman. And I'll be sharing you some resources, which is for your future reference. And if you're so interested to learn more about APIs and you wanted to be like a full-time tester for APIs with Postman, you can definitely go ahead and just check those resources. And finally, we'll have some time for Q&A session as well. Very good. Okay. So, what is an API? Yeah. So, we might have heard many metaphors which has been totally relating to explain as what is API, right? So today I'll be saying a different, how to say, technical example, which will really help you to understand like where does API come into picture. Okay, so can you guys still hear me? I see.
Yeah, yes, Priscilla, we can
Okay,
hear you.
okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll start with an technical example. Okay, so say like you have a plan to develop an website, and you are planning to sell Amazon products in your website. Okay, uh, what we'll be doing, the traditional approach is like I'm a website owner and as a developer also you can take in that aspect. So I need to develop in my application, and wherein I had to write like bunches of code to interact with Amazon application, wherein like every time I'll be placing my orders, updating my orders and all those things. Okay, so just think in a scenario, you already would have spent a lot of time writing your code to integrate with Amazon, and suddenly we know like these big people, right? They will be having frequent releases, right? They'll be having too much number of bills and they'll be having frequent releases. So if something changes in like the Amazon front end, it's definitely going to impact your code as well. So just think about it. So every build or every release which they are going to do, you have to do a retest or you have to do a rework and maintenance in your scripts as well. So in long run, this is going to be a big headache, right? And some way it's going to impact the business of Amazon as well. So what right now, like where API comes into picture is like Amazon will have an API in place. Okay, they'll be developing an API for all those major functionalities for placing an order, for updating your order, for deleting your cart and all. Like they'll be updating, they'll be creating few APIs in place, and those APIs they'll be hosting it. And any people who are totally interested to have an collaboration with Amazon, right, they can directly start using those Amazon APIs. And that is how, as a developer or as a owner of my application, instead of writing bunches of code, now I can just start using the Amazon APIs, which will be helping my for my application to communicate in further. So this is just one example. So if you start thinking in real time, so this is how APIs have started revolving around. Say like another example I can explain. You have the food order delivery apps, right? So even in that you have an option for Google Map, so map functionality. So we know the map functionality is already existing one, and Google has a wonderful map application which is really helpful and almost widely used by people. You don't need to teach them how to use Google Maps, right? So in that case, instead of developing a map application from a scratch, I can start thinking about reusing an existing one which is already available for me. So to interact with Google Maps, I need to access the Google Maps API first. So that will help me to communicate between my application and the Google Maps server. So in this place, the person who is going to provide the service, right, they are going to call a server, and who is going to consume, right, that set of people, they'll be called as client. So we're going to consume it. So in this way, we'll be having the client and server methodology also inside API. So this is the basics of APIs, and this is why people are talking too much about it, right? Because Amazon as a standalone application, and say like if they develop their APIs and they started to share it across, they are literally improving their business, right? More and more purchases are going to happen, and more and more advertisements. So this is where they're talking about the business impact also, which is being, of course, too much relied on APIs nowadays. So this is the basics of API. So this is where the API is being talked about everywhere. And another thing which you guys need to know the basics is like the types of API. So talking about the types of API, we have the major three types, which is like open, private, and partner. Okay, so what is this open APIs? Already we talked about an example, which is Google, of course, Google Maps, Google Sheet, all those APIs, right? They will be coming as part of this open APIs because they have developed the application and they have created an API for it, and they have like hosted it public. Anybody can go and use it. There'll be like very minimal verification needed to use that, but it's, of course, they call it as open APIs, and that's open to everybody. It's a public APIs. And private APIs are something like which your developers are, is totally in-house for your organization, for your client. So that we call it as private APIs. And the third one is like partner APIs. Partner APIs are something like an API which is already developed, and that is not just going to be used by a single user or a single organization, wherein multiple organizations are as such going to share it among themselves. For example, we can take about some hotels. Okay, so say like Marriott hotels are really famous, right? So Marriott is having an API, and once they develop an API, they will be sharing across, and many of the booking websites will be using that, right? So not just a single person. Like we have country-based applications also. So say for example, we Trivago, Make My Trip, Booking.com. So we have too many, right? So all these partners are going to access that API, right? So that kind of APIs, which we call it as partner APIs. Okay. So here is the part. So okay, we understood what is API, what are the types of API, the basics as much as we needed. So what is this Postman tool is all about? We are hearing it almost most of the days, and we might have seen many people sharing about their badges and certifications about Postman. So what is this literally is about? This tool is not just a testing tool, first point. This is a complete ecosystem where you can develop your APIs and you can test it, and you have the option to document your APIs as well. So this is a one of the most preferred tool due to its user friendliness, and it's totally lightweight as well. So when we talk about the testing part, we already told, right? So we will be having an endpoint which will be helping you to communicate between your client and server. So that endpoint is going to be your communication point. For to send that endpoint, you should have a quality certain set of quality as a client. Only then I can send that endpoint, and I'll be receiving a valid response back from the server. So in your case, Postman will be helping you to act as a client, and that will help you to interact with your server better. So okay, so now we see about the building blocks of Postman. Postman is a tool where we have a certain basic ground rules which will be very useful for you once you learn it. Okay, so instead of telling it, I'll better show. So these are the terminologies which you need to remember basically. Workspaces, collections, request responses, and environments. Workspaces are nothing but the places where you're going to segregate your collections. So I'll try to show you something. So this is how the tool as such will look like. And workspaces are something like it's typically related to your uh, work desk or something like say like in your office you will be sitting based on your projects, right? So say like not even projects, some places even based on their domains, like testing team will be sitting separately, dev team will be sitting separately. So this is how it happens, right? Why the segregation is because just to avoid the confusion and just for the better communication, right? So the same way, the workspace is nothing but to create a separate workspace for separate projects or something. So it's completely depending upon the user who want to separate it in what way. So workspace is this, and under a workspace, you have an option to create your collection. So this collection is nothing but a set of requests, which is going to help you to create or to reach every endpoint. So this Postman demo, right? This top level is called as a collection, and inside this you will be having all these single method and single points, right? So these are all called as request. Okay, and once you hit the request, you will be getting your response. So this is how it goes. Just a minute. And another thing which you want to know is about environments. Environments is nothing but just a minute. Better now. So environment is nothing but here it's somehow related to your project related works. So say like for every project or every release, you might have different environments, right? So you might have the variable value values also totally different. For example, test might use the test URL and the dev might use the dev URLs. So this environment is a place which will help you to create different environments. I can have like, and this is just an example, you can of course customize it based on your request. For example, it can be a test environment, and that will have the URL values. So say like example, if I'm going to create a test environment, and that test environment is going to have the URL, which is going to be my test URLs, right? So say like it might have the domain name, which is at so just it'll be having my the URL will have the text which is as test, and I might have that variables, different set of variables which is totally specific to my test environment. And like this I can just start adding too many environments, and while running my request I have an option to select the environments, and based on that environment the variable values will be picked and it will be start running. So this is just an extra level of process which will help you to have your code in a neater way and help you to organize better. That's it. So this is how we create a collection, request, response, and environment. So these are the basic ones. Okay, and talking about a request. Okay, so what are we going to build it here? So a request will always have an endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but a URL. Okay, so this is going to be a URL. And when splitting about the URL also, the facts which you want to know is detail. What I want to suggest is like this we call it as a base URL, and this one which we call it as a resource or entity, wherein like you are telling the application to tell like this is a base URL. You have to go to this URL and you have to search for a resource which is as customers, and that is where you can perform your operation. If you are using without this resource, you will be getting an, you might have seen the error message which is 404 not found, right? Because there is no such resources. Even in the Google URLs you might have seen like www.google.com/search. Search is nothing but an entity. You might have seen images, videos, Google Docs, and also everything will be having a separate entity. So it's nothing but an extra level of information. So the request is built upon the basic thing is called the base URL, and along with the base URL, you'll be sending some other details. Okay. So what are the details? Which we usually call it as like the parameters, the headers, all these terminologies. Like I want to understand, I want you to understand in a basic layman terminologies. It's nothing but you're going to send an envelope or send a mail to some person. Okay, so what will be your details? You will try to capture all as much as possible, right? The sender details will be there, and along with that like you will be trying to mention all those street details, the zip code and the country code and all, right? So in that way, while sending a request, you will be trying to fit in all the possible requests so that this request is sent perfectly and the server is able to understand it, because not everybody could send the request, right? Only if you're sending it perfectly with all the necessary details, the receiver will understand, oh okay, so I'm receiving this and I need to perform this and this action and I have to send this response back to this fellow. So this is how it actually works. So you should make sure that you're sending a proper base URL and a proper resource or an entity which is having, and you should have the valid headers. So all these details, right? So this is where the API documentation comes into picture. And or in some places, definitely your developers will directly give you the collections. And in some places, if in case you need to build your own collections in Postman, you definitely need an API documentation. And that API documentation will have all these details. Say like for getting all the customers, this is how it will be, this is the URL and this is how the headers, and along all these important factors, right? You have another major thing which you need to know that as a basic is, right, the type of request. The type of request is like, okay, I know now I'm a client and I need to interact with my server. So what kind of action I'm going to do? I have all the details, I have my base URL, I have my headers, and I have like whatever details has to be sent, I have like enclosed everything into a same format. But this kind of like what kind of action to be done, like get, post, put, patch, these are all the common options. And basically you need to know about like get, post, put, and delete. So these are the major frequently used options. Why is like, I'll tell you the explanation also. Just with an example, say like you are trying to use any kind of booking application. Okay, so in that case, if when you are trying to retrieve the bookings, mostly your header type, like sorry, your request, HTTP request type will be the get one. And when you are trying to create a booking, you will be using the post method. And when you are trying to update your booking, you will be using the put method. And when you are trying to delete that booking, cancel the booking, you will be using the delete method. So this is nothing but the API action. You're telling what the API has to do. It has to just retrieve the data, or it has to create something in place for you, or it has to update the existing one, or it has to completely remove or delete the existing one. So this is nothing but they technically call it as HTTP methods, but it's basically the API actions which is going to happen. Okay, so we just so this is the base of the Postman application as such. Okay, so I'll just continue with the presentation. Sorry. Okay, so these are the building blocks, and it's almost the same, right? So we saw what are the different HTTP methods. The major ones are like post, get, put, and delete. So it's almost similar to the SQL operations which we do for insert, select, update, and delete. And another the fancy word which they use is called the CRUD: create, read, and update, delete options. Okay, so this is going to do certain operations for you. And for sending a request, these are the major basic details which you want to know. You should know what method, like what API action I had to do. It has to be a get or post or put. You need to know that first, and then you should have your base URL, and then you need to have your resource. What we see in that. So customer is your resource. And then you have an option, like while building your request, you have two different parameters, query and path parameters. I'll be showing you what is a parameter, and headers and body authorization types. And generally body will be coming in place when you are trying to create one, like generally for post and put request. I'll show you how does the body look and what are the types of bodies for you. And once you send your request successfully, you'll be receiving your response, right? So what are the major things you should try to look in your response? I'll explain that. Okay, so we'll just start a basic demo here. Okay, so we already anyway saw what are the request types. I'll try to explain you here. So this is my URL. My URL is ready. So some APIs are public APIs, which doesn't require any type of authorization. You can just copy your endpoint and you can just hit it. Not even in Postman, even in browser also, you can just try to hit that and see if the response is as expected. But for some APIs, you'll be requiring some kind of authorization. Okay. So here, if I'm just trying to hit, this is a free one. So once I hit send, it's trying to get all the customers. Sorry, just hold on. For the first request. Okay, so it's giving me the list of customers. Like these are all the customers which this endpoint is having. Okay, so it's just listing me all the customers. So what I have to do, so this is like get all customers. I have another request wherein I'm just going to use a parameter. Parameter is nothing but this symbol is a question mark, right? So which we call it as a query parameter. Whenever you see this one, it should be a query parameter, and whenever you see a colon in Postman, that is a path parameter. So this is a query parameter where I'm trying to filter a member, like a customer, which is going to have the ID as 3. So if I'm trying to send this one, you will be receiving only the customer which has the ID number as 3. Okay, and in the same place, when I'm trying to add a new customer, okay, so this is where I said I'll be explaining you the body types also. Okay, so when I'm trying to add something, if you see, there is an option, and this is an API key. API key is a kind of authorization where like most of the API documentation, right? When you go through and see that, you will be having an option to generate your API key. First, you need to create an account, and once you generate your API key, that API key value, you can just pass it on here and you can just save it. So this is a kind of authorization which has been used in Postman. There are many kinds of authorization for your APIs. Okay, so this is generally based upon your developer, like who in which method of API authentication which he or she has already used it, and based on that you need to provide the details here. And once you send it, you will be getting your response. Okay, so if you see here, I have added a body with a name and a type, right? So what I'm expecting is like this should go and create a new customer for me. Already we had a set of existing customers, and adding this details will go ahead and create a new customer for me. If you see, here, I see the response code as 201 created, right? So usually 200 series is like a successful response where something is happening as expected. So it's 201 created. That is the positive sign, and it's telling me like my customer is created. So how do I ensure this? This has been already created, right? So what we can do is like we can go back to the get all customers request, and I can just try to click send, and I'll ensure if the added one, like whatever which I did recently, is been added here or not. These are like kind of demo endpoints which we use in Postman for the demo purposes. So if you see, this is the name and type which I gave, and this ID is auto generated. So this is the newly generated ID, and I'm just going to copy it for my purpose. Okay. And even if you want to see it, just a minute. So this is the body. So while passing the body, we have a different options. Okay. So this is also again based upon your API design. So if your API is going to accept the XML response, or sorry, XML request body or HTML request body, the same way you have to select your type, and then the body value goes in here. So generally the post will have this, and if something goes in wrong here with the body, right, you'll be getting like somehow the message will be totally related to you. Usually the 400 series or something related, like it's something failure wherein the details which you are sending something with the client side, and 500 series error messages or the status codes are related to something wrong with the server side, and 200 is positive. So these three are the majorly used ones which we should be aware when we start dealing with APIs. Okay, so here my body is as a raw type and JSON. So right now I created a new customer. Okay, so we already spoke that put is a type where we need to go ahead and update an existing one, right? So what I have done is like even put is having a body type same as JSON. I'm just trying to update that with a small text just to notify that this record is updated, and I'm going to send it. It's telling me that the request is invalid because, just a minute, if you go and visualize here, you'll get to see. Okay, because there is a customer ID which needs to be passed. I said you already, right? If there is a question mark, that's going to be a query parameter, and if there is a colon, and that's going to be a path parameter. So here, this is expecting a valid customer ID, because we are telling it has to update something, right? Even we are giving the details what to update, but where to update, we didn't mention anything properly. So what we have to do is like, if you go and see in the parameters, you have a you have to give the valid customer ID which we created. That was an older one which I already deleted. So this 1531 is what which we created recently, right? So I'm just going to save it. So you can see the clarity here. Query params and path variables, like these are the two parameters which we use in. So whatever values you give in here directly will go as part of your base URL. Okay. So just click on send. Okay, so it's telling me that we updated a customer. Okay, so even now we need to check back again, right? So how did my customer updated? So you can just go back to your get all customers, and if you just click on send and try, you'll be seeing the latest value. So this is updated one which we try to send as part of the update request, right? So now I can see the updated value. So this is how the put request works. Okay, so now again it's been the delete request. So we know the customer ID which we created. Okay, and this updating the value. So what it will do is like in this customer key value, it'll try to pass this value here. Okay, and it depends. Mostly delete will not have anything as part of your body. Like unlike post input, it is somehow similar to get. So after giving my ID, yeah, now it's telling me like you deleted a customer. Even I need to ensure this as well, right? So I need to go click again, send here. So yeah, I didn't see the customer which I recently created. It's been deleted. Okay. So this is the basic demo endpoints which we use for explaining the HTTP types. So now we understood the basics, right? So what is a request and how does the different request types work? What is get, post, put, and delete? So these are the major frequently used ones. So if you're really a starter, this will be really helpful to you. Okay, so we move on to the next one. Okay, so what is this? So now I understood my APIs. Say like my developer gave me a documentation, and I based on that I started preparing all my collections, and that is completely ready for me. Will take in that case. So what I'm going to do, my developer or my like I'm planning to test my APIs once I build my collections. Okay, so what is it? The testing is all about. So every time when you hit your send, the basic thing what you expect is a 200 OK, right? 200 OK is nothing but a successful response. I try to reach my server and it's responding me back properly. So this is a positive sign. So this 200 OK is a basic thing which I expect as part of my response. Okay. Other than that, I have few other things to worry about it. Like even the same way, like my request headers, my response is also having certain headers. So these are my response headers. Okay. And other than that, you need to worry about the response timing, the response code, and sometimes you will be having the cookies also. And the major important thing is like the request response body, because we will be expecting some kind of details in your response body, like what we did in the customer endpoints, the dummy ones before, right? The customer ID was the one which we got as a response body, right? Because that matters to me. Other than this 200 OK status, I need to know the ID number, like which is being generated for me, right? So so this is the basic things which we need to look in the response. So say like you have n number of requests. I have my API is having different endpoints, and I have around some 20 to 30 requests, and totally everybody is doing a different works, and uh, you cannot manually go and check your request every time whether it is 200 OK and something which I expected as part of the response body is generated as expected, right? So that is where the scripting comes in progress. Okay, so it's not too much. The script and this prerequisite script, these are the two sections in Postman where you can write your customized code snippets in JavaScript. You need to know the basic JavaScript, and here if you see, and you don't need to worry if you're totally a beginner. We have the ready-made code snippets here, which you can directly click it on, and you can see them here, and that will be really helpful to you. So say like I'll come back to the example again. We have already the collection built, and we have around 20 to 30 requests, and my major goal is like once I click a single click run it, I just need to run all the endpoints, and I need to check if everything is returning as 200 OK. That's it. This is going to be my simple test case, right? So you don't need to do it manually. We have a test case. Okay. So if you see this ready-made code snippets, you have a one which is named as status code is as 200, right? If you click it on, it will directly give you, if I'm just trying to save it and send. If you go and see, it is passing because the status code is 200. Okay. Just forget about these two for now. So 200. So say like I'm expecting a 400 error code. Okay. My test case will fail because actual is 200 and what I'm expecting is 400. So these are the basic assertions which we start to looking out in the responses instead of doing it manually, like the repeated kind of job. We don't want to do that. And so these are another thing. So say like if you're testing something related to your API performance, and there your response time has to be in a stipulated time also, even for that you can write an assertion like this. And something like you are expecting a typical value in your response header, even that can, like, I'm expecting the content type in my response header, it should be there because it's a mandatory for me, then you can even add a test case for that. So it's all completely customizable, and they have some inbuilt code snippets, and even if it is not working for you, you can definitely go ahead and write your own assertions. And some assertions, if it is completely applicable to the entire collection or entire folder, you can explicitly define it in the collection level as such. So say like I can add a test here to test if my status code is 200, all individual requests inside this, right, everything will just be concluded for this test case. Once I run, it will check for all the requests if it is having this response status code as 200, and not here, but individually you will be seeing the status inside the test, like it will be applicable here. So once I save it here, the collection level, and if I run it every request, this test case is applicable. Okay. So this is the basic test cases or assertions which we talked it about. Okay. So because as a tester, we don't want to do it manually, or if you have too many collections or too many requests, right? You don't want to do it like I by just by your thing. So the next thing, important thing, okay, we'll just see about set and get variable. Okay, what is this all about? Okay. So here as a query parameter value, I'm just passing a value. Okay. So this value, this echo, Postman echo is like a dummy endpoint where it's just going to return whatever I'm going to give it inside. So it's just for the demo purpose. So if I just click it on send, right, I'll be getting my response. And in my response, I have an attribute message which holds the value for me. Okay. So say like in real time, we'll just consider an example. This is what we call it as chaining of request, where you have an API and it's not a standalone API. You need your API to communicate with one with another. So say like you have to create an user, and the same user ID or username I have to pick it on, and that has to go as an input for another request. Okay. So say like the user is created and I have to pick that user ID, and that goes as an user input for another request, and where I'm trying to update the user ID, similar to the example which we saw earlier. But I'm just trying to say that you don't need to do a copy the ID value manually every time. So that is where the variable concept comes into place. And it's similar to the programming languages where we use a variable concepts, like we have a different scopes, like where you have to use a variable and within what scope is available. So here what I'm doing is like it's just a simple snippet I'm just adding. Okay. So I'm just trying to add a collection variable. Collection variable is nothing but this is your collection, right? In collection level, you're trying to add a variable. Okay. So already I think it will be there. I'll delete it for you. So I have a variable already here. I've deleted it. Save. So I'm just trying to create a new collection variable, which is the name is as proposal. Okay. And this is like a statement where I'm going to try parsing the response. We already see clearly like my response is in JSON format, right? So this response.json, this method is nothing but it's going to parse your response and store it as a JSON object. Why? Because once you store it as a JSON object, you can directly call using like the object name dot args, that object name dot headers. You can easily reach all the elements in your response. So this is the basic snippet which we always use to parse your JSON response in Postman. What I'll be doing is like I'll be just parsing it. What I'm telling is like parse it, and after that args dot message. I want you to reach to this element, args dot message. So this element, finally it will come to this element, and this element is storing in a variable which is named as proposal from here. Okay, so I'm just going to send it. Okay, so this message we'll go and check if it is saved in a collection level variable. Yes, I see that value is stored in a collection level variable. Okay, so what is the purpose of it? I have another request. Okay, so in that request I have a body where this text has to go in. So I don't want to manually, like, this is my text, right? So for example, I don't want to paste it manually here. Instead of that, I'm just going to use this variable options. So this will be helpful, like when you're trying to chain multiple requests, or where you are going to access something related to your URLs and all, right? So say like even this URL, you don't want it's pretty simple. But when you have a larger URLs, you don't want to use that bigger ones here. You can directly set it as a variable, and you can just try to access that variable. Okay. So how do we access that variable? We know already we stored a variable in the name of proposal, right? So usually this double curly braces is what we use in Postman to access these variables. So once I just give it in this sense, right? And now this is my body, JSON body. I'm just trying to send it here. So I can see the text as populated as here. So in this case, another purpose of this variables is like if something is getting updated here also. So say like here now. So here, hello. Okay. So here I'm just updating my message. Okay, so this is my message, and I'm just trying to update my message. Okay, I'm just trying to save it and send it. So now in my response, I have a new text, right? So now again, I don't want to copy this new text and go and place into my another request. Automatically, this will be updated in my collection level variable name. So if you see here, now the new value is updated here. So I don't want to do any manual work. Again, I'm going to come here, and this is my older text, right, in my body. So if I'm going to run this again, I'll be getting the new text which I'm expecting. So this variables will be a lot of like it'll be a time saver and a lifesaver at times. So we have different level of scope variables like collection, environment, globals, and all. So collection is something which is totally inside this collection only. Say like this proposal variable, if I'm going to create a new collection, right? If I'm going to create a new collection, I cannot use that proposal inside this new collection. Okay. And environment is something like environment variables, like it is only specific to this environment, and if I'm selecting that environment, that variable will be accessible. And globals is another variable section where I can add something totally related to, like, how to say, the timestamp, which is totally generic to the entire workspace. So whatever which I'm defining here in this globals, right? Sorry, in this globals, right? Under this MOT meetup, whatever collections, whatever request comes in, that global variables will be accessible. So this is the difference between the scope of the level of variables. Okay, and so this is another example where I'm just trying to show you how the authorization works. So this is a type of authorization, which is one of the commonly used authorization for the simpler APIs, which is a basic authorization where I'll be directly giving my username and password. And all these processes are same. I'm just going to give my URL and the headers and all. It's going to be same. So once, because without this authorization, this is not going to work. This API endpoint is not going to work. So if I send here, I'll be receiving the 200. Okay. So if something goes wrong here, if something is missing in my password, this is the 401 unauthorized is something like which something went wrong under my auth tab. So I'm not authorized to use that API. I need to check my credentials back again. So that's what I said. So anything related to 400, right? You need to take care, like something with this request authorization, something from your client part. And if that is 500 series, like you cannot do much over that. It's totally on the client server side where you can directly reach out to your developers. Okay. And talking about it, so this is the basic thing which I have. Okay. And another thing which I can share is like, if you see, we have another interesting part in Postman. So say like you have an API request where you need to create new users, and for every user you need to have a fresh name or fresh username, and for every single time you need to have something fresh. Okay, so in that case what you can do is like there is something called dynamic variables in Postman. If you start using this dollar symbol, right, you'll be able to see this. So say like I'm just giving, I would need a random first name. Okay, for every request, for every hit I would need a random name. I can just save it and send it. Okay, so see, my name is Emmy right now, and if I try to hit on second time, it's a different name. So this will be helpful when you're trying to uh, test your APIs. You don't want to hard code it. You can just try to, there are many random dynamic variable options, so you can just like random first name, the random IP. You have lot many options to explore here, and you can just pick anything based on your needs. So this is another interesting part which will save you a lot of time. Okay. So I think that's all from my side. I just wanted to close off with some resources. So this is a recap. So we learned about the basics of API and what are the types of API, and then we got to know about like what is this Postman and what this tool is all about, and the methods, parameters, authorization, how does the body works, like what are the types of body like JSON, XML, HTML. These are the feasible ones, but we try to play with the JSON one. And then the assertions are nothing but the test cases which we added in the test section. Okay, and then if you are really interested and so keen enough to learn Postman, right, they have a program called Postman Student Expert Program. So if you just apply there, and you will get a similar collection to that which we were working right now, and you can try to work on that collection. And once you finished your collection, if you send it to them, right, you'll be receiving a badge, and like this. Okay, and this is the place where you can explore a few other collections which is all self-explanatory, that will guide you what to do next, and it will really help you to explore more on the variables, test sections and all. Okay, and these are the major resources which you need to know about Postman. So this is the learning site where you will get to know all the features which they have. And this explore.postman.com is a public API, public workspace network, wherein, like, for example, what is a public workspace is like, say if you need to work in Jira, or if you need to work in some kind of like Stripe or any API for your project, you don't need to worry. Definitely, if you come and search here, there will be an existing collection which is already built with all the Stripe or Jira endpoints, which you can directly fork into your collection. If they have hosted it publicly, definitely it will be available, and you can just start forking into yours, and you can start playing around the collections. You don't need to start building from the scratch. You can do that. And community forum, yes, Postman has a wonderful community. A lot of people are helping each other, and even in your like something related to Postman, or even if you're trying to explore something in the training of the Postman, right, which we talked about earlier in this slide. So even if you have any doubts, or if you're stuck up in that, right, you have an option to post your query in the community forum. People will be helping you out. So these are the major things which I wanted to share. And now Q&A. So do you guys have anything for me?
Thank you so much, Priscilla. That was really wonderful. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And yeah, we do have one question in the chat. Are you going to walk through with monitors?
Okay. So maybe they are interested in. Okay, I'll tell you what is it. Okay. Um, Generally, for all the automation scripts or the frameworks which we already use, right, we'll try to integrate it with the any kind of CI/CD application so that it will run in a certain frequency for us, right? In Postman, we have an option called monitors. Okay, so if you click on the three dots which is in your collection level, you have this option where you can just go on and click on this monitor collection. Okay, so here you have an option where you can select your environment, like which variables it has to pick and run, and you have a, how to say, a frequency where you need to set it on, and you can provide your email ID, and these are the all other settings where you need to do. And once you give all this, and if you create it right, a monitor will be set it up. And it's nothing but, like, say, like if I'm just giving on to run it for hourly or every day, the same time the monitor the collections, right, all the requests and all the test cases which we have given under the collections, that will run automatically, and it will give, and it will send you a email notification. That's it. So it depends upon your project request. And I'll try to show something. I don't think I have an example. Okay, it's totally official. I don't think I have anything in my personal one. I'm not sure if I have any monitors here. So I think I have one which is already running. So if you see, right, this is how it will look. So say like this one, I think I'm just running on a daily basis. Once you set it up, you can see a kind of dashboard also, like the request fail, or this was a thing, and you'll be getting the mails also regarding to this.
Awesome, awesome. That's really cool. We don't want to use any sort of different tools for CI/CD integration.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to.
Yep. So Kavita was saying nice explanation, and Eleonora was saying, "Oh, this is magic." Thanks for the explanation, and she's gonna try out Postman and JavaScript. Okay, there
Thank
was
you.
one more question. Could you please share the GitHub URLs of collection which you used?
Mm. Sure, it's not in GitHub. Actually, it is in Postman Workspace. I'll definitely share it with you. Maybe I'll tell you how to fork that also. So first one is like this is for the student expert program, which you can explore.
Are you sharing it in the chat?
Just a
Okay.
minute. Okay, so and this one I'll just let you know how it's done. So if you go to this workspace, right, it's not in GitHub. I'll tell you how to fork it. So okay, so we have certain collections. I'll tell if you are totally new to Postman and APIs, I would suggest you to start with this Galaxy APIs 101, which is almost similar to the customer URLs, which we demo endpoints URLs, which we worked. Okay, that will be the first point to start. And if you're already, like, you have some basic knowledge, and I want to learn more about the scripting, this collection will be the best part. Okay, I'll tell you how to do. You have to click on the folder, the three dots here, create a fork. I'm sorry, I'm official. It's taking a while. So if you click on these three dots, right, you cannot directly work from here because this is a public workspace. You have to click these three dots, create a fork, and just this is just for your identification. Any text you can just give, and select the workspace. Make sure to have a workspace before forking it. So say like I'm just forking into this meetup. Okay. So once that is done, if you come here, Okay, so this is the one we poked recently. Okay, so if you see here, okay, if you click on this folder level, right? If you click on this folder level and try to click this documentation symbol, this document symbol, and this will like give you the basic knowledge, like what are you going to do, and uh, and after that, every request is self-explanatory. So say like once you try to hit it send, you will get your response. You'll try to visualize, and that will guide you what to do next and all. So it is totally a self-explanatory session. And if you have any doubts, if it is not something clear, they would have mentioned something in this documentation section also. And even after this, if you got stuck up also, you can ask your post your questions in community forum, or you can reach out to me.
Okay, thank you, Priscilla. So Amir was sharing about the 30-day developer challenge by Postman. You want to share some
Yeah.
insights on that?
Okay. So 30 days challenge is like almost it's somehow similar to this thing like now sometime back we saw a list of collections which is available for the trainings, right? So the same way they created an intensive training not only for testers or developers, like it's a complete package, I would say, including even not with rest and soap, even with all kinds of API. So other than this they have I have that overview. So this is the URL. So this is something like after exploring all those things, right? So if you're totally new to Postman, I would first suggest this is my learning path. I would say get to know the basics of APIs. I think even what we discussed is far more enough. And after this, try to play through all these collections, which is here. Okay, and then if you are totally into Postman and you want to explore more, there is nothing wrong. Go to this space. Okay, so this is a URL which I have been latest. So go to this workspace. This has totally of 30 collections. Collections is what which we already discussed, right? So this is a workspace and this is a collection. So every collection, if you are a beginner, right, try to do one a day. You have to the same way. You have to click on these three dots, create a fork into your local workspace, and start working on it. They would have given you the instructions like what you have to do. Say like if you are, it's the same thing what I did. If you read it through here, right, the documentation will be telling you like what task you have to complete to pass this collection. So it's like everyday task basis. Like every collection will have a certain set of tasks, and once you complete that task, right, you will be passing all the test cases. And finally, once all the collections have been passed, definitely, and you can submit your pull request, and you will get a badge for it. So even I completed that already, so it's definitely worth a try. Almost they'll be covering all the features of Postman. So if you really want to try, you can try, and if you have any suggestions needed, you can definitely reach out to me.
I was about to ask you your learning path, but you already answered that question.
Okay.
Okay, there is one more question. Now I use Python framework for testing API and run all the scripts on Jenkins. So I'm just wondering where you run your collections.
Okay, I'll show you. Okay, so say like this is my collection. I need to do it again, right? So say like this is my collection. Okay, I have an option here is run, which we call it as collection runner. We have two options. One is through this collection runner. Another one we would have heard about Newman, right? So that is a using your command line where you can run it. So that is an npm package. If you don't want to do that, this is a simple option. Just click on this run. It will give you all the folders and even including the collections inside that. So if you want to run, or if you want to run in like how to say, if you want to deselect anything, you can just deselect and you can just run it. So say like how many number of iterations I want to run, and if you just click on run, it will give you Since I don't have any test, it's not running. Just a minute. Because this is just a demo one. I didn't try to run it as a collection. It might have some errors also. So this is how it will run. So whatever request or whatever the folders which I'm just trying to run, I have the option. So it's like two way. You can run collection or by these three dots, or you can just click on this parent level folder where you see this run option.
All right. Do you have any other questions? Or if you want to share something, you just raise your hands. We can invite you to the screen. That was nice. Okay, could you please share different types of bugs that should be looked by a tester while doing API testing?
Okay. First thing definitely goes to your response code, like what is expected. And another thing which we are really like not focusing too much is like your response time. Make sure to add a test case, because for every and for some APIs and some servers, right, they have a process, and only for the first request it will take some time, and the frequent request and all, because the server will be in some dormant state or something. And so first request will be taking a while, and the subsequent ones should be run in a stipulated time. So that is a major thing which you need to cover as part of your test cases. And bugs in the sense like most of the bugs which I have seen is like something which is the response code is being not handled properly by the developers. So how do you know that? So as a tester, you should properly know all the response codes, and when or why, like say for example, when there is a problem with your body. Say for example, my API is expecting a body in a JSON format, and when I'm trying to send something in a text format, you should receive status code stating it's a bad request, and not something related to unauthorized or something. So but when can you explain this to developer? You should be strong enough in all the response codes, right? So as a tester, I always suggest people not just to stop with the basics of API. Try to understand more and more about the APIs, and only then you can go and talk with your developers and defend about it. Because they would have, most of the times they would have defined all those generic error codes which will not work out. So we should be strong in our basics so that we can go and defend. I believe there are no testers here, so sorry, no developers here. Yes.
That's an awesome advice. We do have some developers here, I guess.
I believe they might handle their error codes properly.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other questions? Let's wait for one more minute.
Writing few articles. Start with.
Cool. We are good. I guess there is no other questions. Thank you so much, Priscilla. We are honored to have you here. So thanks everyone for joining. So we will be sharing the recording soon in LinkedIn and Twitter. And also we will be having the next meetup on next month. So we host it every second Tuesday. So next month, second Tuesday, you can expect the next talk. If you have any speaker request or any volunteer request, you can reach out to me, Ram, or either Ami. So we three will be there to help you all. So thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks again, Priscilla.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Guys, all the best. Keep learning. APIs are so much important, and just feel free to reach out to me if you have any things in your way. I would love to help.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.